Bleach Bros Podcast is proud to align itself with Jerky Pro, a beef jerky manufacturer established by military and paramilitary veterans.
Available in 3-ounce or 1-pound bags with great flavors such as honey glazed, teriyaki, red hot, apple cinnamon, original, peppered, sweet barbecue, and if you're ballsy enough, nuclear.
Be sure to use our promo code to get some of the best jerky on the market. Use Bleach Bros 5, all lowercase, to take advantage of this offer today.
Hi, this is Colin.
And this is Paul.
We are the hosts of Seismic Cinema Podcast.
You are now listening to the Bleach Bros with B-Word and Jake the Hater, and you're in for an absolute belter of a show.
Thanks for all the dirty talk. Come back and get sanitized.
Welcome into the Bleach Brothers Podcast. This is B-Word, and as usual, I am here with my solid, good, dedicated, long-term friend, my good buddy Jake. How you doing, bud?
That was the longest intro for me ever.
I know.
That was like, I don't know. It's irregular. You're not on Activia.
Well, yeah, it's a little stuffy. You know, I think our friendship goes back a long time. And
a long time, like what, 30?
About 30 some odd years. And one of the staples to our friendship, specifically as we became adults, is we kind of tell each other more or less everything. I mean, there's not any sort of topic that's off limits. And often we tend to poop right about the same time. We have a similar poop schedule. So that's usually when we're sending our memes and our, Instagram videos and reels back and forth. But we also talk about the shit that sometimes you probably shouldn't talk about, correct? Like, we spent the better part of 3 episodes talking about your nutsack. And your nutsack. And my nutsack. And
but mine getting clipped?
Yours was getting clipped. And then, of course, going through all that. Recently, though, I had a bloody mess to fucking talk about. And who did I call?
Me.
I called you.
Yeah, it's funny. You called me. And you were like, I was like, dude, what's wrong with you? And you're like, nothing. And then I could tell in your voice, you're like, I'm going to tell you something. And it reminded me of that scene in Dude, Where's My Car? Mm-hmm. When he's like, my stomach doesn't feel right. And he's like, you got to poop. He's like, no, that's not it. And they talk about it. And he goes, I'm going to go sit on the toilet. See, I know your body.
Yeah.
And I could just tell something wasn't right with B-Word. And your butthole was a peach pit.
My butthole was a sore area. And so behind the scenes, we typically record on Wednesday nights. And in our last episode, we had Travis from Boogered Up on, and he couldn't do Wednesday, so he ended up doing Tuesday with us. And we had a blast with him, and I made it through that show, and we were going to record Hippo Happy Hour for our Patreon. And we decided, no, we'll just push that off to Wednesday. Well, Wednesday, I send you a text message, and I'm like, man, I'm not up to recording this. Like, let's just push it off to next week. You're like, okay. And I think you were probably fine with it. But you reach back out a few hours later, and there I am on my stomach in the bed with my butthole up to the sky, praying that it just stops being pain, because I had the world's worst hemi, bro. Mm-hmm. Dude, I've had one other hemi in my life. And for those that don't know what a hemi is, it's a hemorrhoid. I've had one other hemi in my life. And bro, those things, I don't know how women take it in the ass. I don't know how men take it in the ass. Like, my butthole was tender, bro. Tender.
Well, I don't think people are like, I mean, there could be, I don't know, people are out there forcefully hurting your butthole. Like, when you're doing that, I think.
Spitter lube, bro. Spitter lube.
I think sex is different than just whatever you got going. My favorite part of this, though, is you went and got medicine.
I did.
You went and got medicine for yourself.
Yep.
And you called and told me about the bottle.
Yeah, so I got some medicated wipes, and then I got the preparation A through G was no longer effective, so I had to go to preparation H. And so I pull open the bottle, and you make a facetious joke. Your joke was basically, put it in your ass.
That's right, put it in your ass,
and
dude.
As I open up this box, like, there's a tube of preparation H, so very much like a toothpaste tube. And all of a sudden, like, in the corner of this box, I'm like, what the hell is that? And it's another nozzle for the toothpaste tube of this Preparation H that you can actually shove the shit in your ass. And so you were fascinated, hoping that I would shove this thing in my ass, but my hemorrhoid wasn't in my ass. My hemorrhoid was on my ass. So it didn't make any sense to put anything in my ass. Plus, I'd have probably cried. I'm not going to lie. That would have been painful.
I would have laughed. I wanted to, no, that was like when people were asking me if I was going to FaceTime. I think, not that I want you to FaceTime, you putting something in your butt, but I sort of wanted to, just so I could see your face. Because also it'd be one of those moments, B-word, where we're the true friendship thing behind the curtain, no matter how much we yell at each other and stuff, where you'd be like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And I'd be, again, just put it in your ass. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's hilarious, dude. Like it was a few days where it was hard to sit. It was hard to sit, bro. Like how do you tell your employer, the reason why it's hard to sit, the reason why I'm getting up, I finally had to come out and say, look, I've got a fucking peach pit coming out of my butthole. Like I'm done. I got to stand up for a while. Like this is bullshit. And then we got all of our recordings done, no issue. And I thought I was good, and I hopped on, and I was helping out Bobby at two guys in a dart new podcast. Give them a follow. And I couldn't figure out what he was going through. So I tried to get a hold of Gnome from Dad's on Dayquil, and then he was busy. And so I ended up calling Mike and Tabby from Happy Hour Podcast, soon to be the Gray's Tap Room? Gray's Tap Room Podcast, I think is what it's called. So long story short, we ended up, more or less FaceTiming for a while, and I was sitting in a chair, and finally I just went, guys, I gotta go lay down. And little did I know that would bring on another 2 days of pain. So we're good now. I can sit in chairs. I can probably do jumping jacks, although I'm not going to try. So yeah, we're good. But let me tell you, man, this is our friendship. We talk about it all, dude.
Yeah. Was the nozzle like penis shaped?
No. So the nozzle was very much, so it was like, it was not.
It was round-headed.
It was round-headed.
Right? It was like a little.
Yeah, it was round-headed.
Yeah, it's a penis. That's a penis.
Yeah, it was
dude.
like
just a robot dick.
Oh, what do you call it? It was like a fleet, or like a, what do you like?
A fleet?
Yeah,
What's
the enemas. It was like an enema. You ever see an enema?
I didn't even know it's called a fleet. No,
that's a brand.
Never
of
had
enema.
an enema.
That's a brand of enema.
Oh,
yeah. So if you're like,
you know a lot about things in your butt, dude.
Well, and so funny story, because when my daughter was born. She couldn't.
Funny story. I know things about my butt. Yeah,
she couldn't digest, like, because we had switched her from breast milk. Her mom wasn't producing as much,
lactating.
Yeah, and so we went to Infamil, or like one of those, and it backed her up, and so we had to do an enema, baby enema
procedure.
And let me tell you what, dude, I was not prepared for that. That was the first and only time I've ever administered a fleet, or a enema. And that thing worked like a fucking charm, because I couldn't even put the diaper on before I got shit on. It was crazy.
Okay, so there's that thing, the fleety fleet. Or have you seen the ones where the women or men, I don't know, but the person who's in charge of the baby can suck the boogers out of their nose with the nozzle?
Oh yeah, yeah.
But you do it on a.
Oh,
what is worse?
Like you suck it out with your mouth?
Yeah, you put in the nozzle. My wife you put in this like giant tube thing in their nose, and then you have a tube that goes to your mouth, and you suck, and it's supposed to stop it before it gets there, but in my brain it doesn't. And my wife has done this. What's grosser, the fleet or that?
I honestly, like, I've been shit on before, like with dogs and babies, and so I could probably deal with that. If I got a booger in my mouth and it's not my own booger, dude, I swear to God, I'm puking all over anything and everything, probably for weeks, dude. Because the only thing, like, here's the thing, man, boogers have that consistency, right? Like they're either hard or they're soft or they're slimy or they're whatever.
They're like oysters or they're like crusties.
Yeah, for sure. A booger in my mouth would fucking set me off the deep end.
Well, I guess it's because, you're using your mouth to do it. And my wife's like, it has a stopper and it does this thing. And I'm like going, no, never used it, never will. You know what I do? I get a tissue or a Q-tip, put it in there, and I squeeze it out. I'm not sucking out anything out of it. And I love you, B-word. If you came to me and said, Jake, I need you to use this tool, and suck this out of my nose, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, B-word, you're going to die today.
Yep.
Because it's not, I think, because here's the thing, a common courtesy as a friend, you're not doing the same for me.
No, like it's that scene from City Slickers where
like suck it out of my butt,
gets
poison
bit in the ass, and he's like, suck the poison out of my ass. No,
I'm not sucking your ass.
We're not doing that. Like, I love you. Like, I'm gonna mourn when you're gone, but that's not what's gonna happen.
If you were bit by a rattlesnake, would you rather be bit on your dick or your ass, knowing that somebody's gonna suck it out?
My ass.
Same here.
Yeah, because I don't know what the effect would be on my dick. Like, would I have this like massive knuckle that's now on my dick? Like, would it be like
that could help you?
Would it be
you
like
could have a
dog's
bumpy
erection where you have to wait for it to go down before
a
you
knot?
Can, yeah. Just no, not doing that. Not doing that.
Well, they say if you get stung by a bee in the dick, it makes it get bigger forever.
That's good. I wouldn't do that either.
I'm gonna try 10 bees.
You don't.
I'm gonna have a new Extends. I'm gonna have a new Extends commercial. It's gonna be called Bee Stens, and I'm just gonna get guys to come to my shed in my backyard. I'm gonna shake up a hive, shove it on their crotch, let him get stung, and go, "Your penis enlargement is over. Give me $10."
Well, and then you're gonna find some dentist or something that is also like some sort of chemical major that makes this into like a prescription, and it's gonna be sold at gas stations called Haters Hard-On pills. It's just gonna be
it's like
great thing.
This is a genius idea. I need to open my bee shed. It'll be called my bee shack, and you come over and I shake the hive or a couple bees. I put them on your crotch. They sting you in the dick. You get a little bit of a hard-on. You leave, right? That was like remember my other great idea, B-word, that never came to fruition, eBay.com. Do you remember this?
No.
When eBay was famous in like 10th grade, I got in trouble for this in high school. We had to write a report and make a business. Remember careers class with what's his name?
Yeah.
I got in trouble for two things there. One, I wanted to be a pro wrestler, and I yelled out a racial slur to Eric Butler on video because he wrote it in the script. And I got in trouble for that. But two, my business was going to be eBay.com, and I was going to convince movie stars to jerk off into cups for me, and then I was going to auction their sperm to the highest bidder online like eBay. And now I said my retirement plan is I just need Brad Pitt once.
That's
I
true.
just need to turkey baster him once.
That's true.
And I'm done. Do you know how many women would buy that?
My luck would be
it's amazing.
My luck would be is that the only celebrity that I would be able to find would be like Seth Rogen. He'd be just sitting there the whole time. Look, I jerked off in the cup.
Dude, he gave you the Pineapple Express, and then he did. Yeah, I heard pineapple juice makes it taste better. Fucking dude, that guy's a walking Oscar the Grouch.
Dude, he is a. But he was Rolf. He voiced Rolf in the Muppet movie that you haven't watched.
Yeah.
And he did a fucking phenomenal voice. But this makes me think, man. So obviously we're buddies, right? We share a lot with each other. We also like entertainment. We like movies. We like all this sort of shit. If you could live in one sitcom, you can have whoever you want in the sitcom, or you can deal with the same characters that are already in the sitcom. Which one would it be and why?
Practicality says The Office, because life is boring.
Okay.
And I'd work in a cubicle, and I want to be in Scrubs because I want to have you there as my best friend, like, and me live in my daydream land all the time.
Right.
Except my daydream land would be scary for people.
Explain that.
I just have messed up things in my brain. Dude, you see my text. I text you random, like, okay, the other day, okay, just being upfront and candid. I texted everybody in the group. I've always wanted to bang a midget.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone.
Who doesn't?
You're not alone.
Okay. But I also said, I imagine their vaginas smell like cotton candy, and I don't want to get ruined. I don't want the world to find out that it's not.
Yeah. No, I can see that.
So that was a thought in my brain. Okay. I also just thought of Bee Shack, where I have dudes come over and whip their dongs out so they get stung by bees. So can you imagine the daydreams on that show with me?
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. That'd be pretty interesting. I think so. Same question posed to me. So you basically said The Office or Scrubs. Mm-hmm. I would have to do Cheers because I would
hang out at a bar all day.
Yeah, I would love to just hang out at a bar all day. But, and it's cliche, everybody would know your name. Like Norm walks in and the whole bar goes, Norm! Like I would love that. Like it would, I don't know, that would just be fun. A close second for me though would actually be my wife and kids. You remember that one with this
Yeah.
Damon Wayans or whatever? And the reason why is because I would hope that they would get divorced, Damon Wayans and his wife, and I'd swoop her up, dude. She is so fine, bro. Like I love her. I don't care that she's got kids. Totally good.
I would like to live as Carlton in the Fresh Prince, but a white version.
Okay.
And just show up and piss off that whole family all the time and like just be the annoying one, right?
Right.
Gilligan's Island would be fun to be stranded. I've always had a
Gilligan's Island would
dream.
be cool.
Okay. I've had a dream to be stranded, B-word. I don't know why. It just seems interesting.
Like Castaway,
it
or
seems
you want to
the
be stranded
perfect-
with people?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't care. Just gone. I'm just gone. But then like I want to have like a comeback, like free ticket. Like when I'm done. Like it's a stupid dream. It's like I want to get stranded on an island by myself. Like because I'm like, man, I would lose weight. I could learn some skills. I would learn a lot about myself. I could be alone. I could be friends with a ball. I wouldn't have to put up with shit with anybody.
Right.
I would have to jerk off too much. But then it's like when I'm done, I want to say it, and that wouldn't happen, right?
Right.
But also, I could be stranded with people. Okay, let's say this, B-word. If we were on a Gilligan's Island, right? Me and you were there.
Mhm.
You're the skipper, and I'm Gilligan.
Mhm.
That makes perfect sense, right?
Okay.
Who's coming with us?
Marianne and Ginger, 100%.
No. Real life,
Real life
like,
people?
Do you got people that you could imagine that would go like, and you don't have to say them, but like, is there a list of people that you would bring with you, or
Potentially maybe 3 or 4.
I got about 4.
Yeah, just in all reality. Like, I don't like people that much. Like, I know quite a bit of people. I'm friends with quite a bit of people, but probably 3 or 4 max. Yeah, I don't know. What about you?
I have a list, but my list is in typical hater fashion. I'm bringing somebody to be a dick to.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm trying not to sound like a bully, but I think you need to be able to get all your, the thing is, if you're going to deal with people, right, you need to be able to get all your emotions out.
Right.
And I need that one person that I could put up with and get along with and be nice, but then also I have no problem yelling at.
So you're bringing your
and
brother.
it's not you, B-word.
Okay. So you're
Exactly.
Yeah, you're bringing your brother. I got it. So one other honorable mention as far as a thing goes here, and this is probably going to get you on to another one. I would love to be on Saved by the Bell.
Why?
Kelly Kapowski.
Okay, but are you getting her?
Fuck yeah, I'm getting her, dude. Like, I am the
God.
writer of
No,
this
don't
show,
do
bro.
this.
I'm the
Don't
writer of
do
this
this.
show. 100%.
Oh, God.
Zach Morris is a bitch. We both know this.
Maybe if you Harvey Weinsteined her after you wrote.
Wow. Wow. We just called that the Belding, bro. Like, that's just
Dude, we would have to call, dude, in your court case, it would be called Saved by the Belding.
Saved by the Belding. Yeah, he'd be my public defender.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was mean, but I don't care. Anyways,
yeah, I figured you might want to be in Boy Meets World though.
I would, because I love Topanga. I would also love to be in Power Rangers, if you can count that as a sitcom.
I don't really count that as a sitcom, but I could see why.
But okay, so there's 2 reasons. Me and you could also be Bulk and Skull.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we could. We would be great at it.
The original Jay and
I
Silent
could-
Bob.
I would be the Blue Ranger, and the reason is
Wasn't he?
nobody knows.
Wasn't the Blue Ranger the one who came out as gay?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Nobody would
Awesome.
know. Nobody would know I am. Nobody would know. Like, I would use the preparation tube.
Use a preparation tube. I'll tell you what,
I'm
dude.
so using it.
If you ever came out as gay, like, I'm totally in support of you. You're obviously not, but if it did,
Right.
it would make a lot of sense to me, and it would be fine. But
and if you did, I'm calling Robert the Bear. Because heads up, too.
Oh, he's in
Shout
our
out to him.
Discord.
He's back in, and
Yeah.
he's been listening hard, and he is still in love with you.
well,
Oh my God,
yeah.
I love this. The messages I get about you I always sometimes write back, I've never thought of B-word that way. And then I have to go, I'm still not going to think of B-word that way.
I'm excited to see what his Discord interaction level is going to be, because I know that he's in there. And speaking of Discord, I know that we're in the middle of the show. Just a good shout out. Check out our link tree, hop in our Discord, associate with us, have some fun. But okay, so we've talked about some television shows that we would be in and whatever. I kind of feel like you and I are a buddy comedy duo. Like we might be funny, we might not be funny, but at the end of the day, I think that they could probably make a buddy comedy movie on our life, or at least take segments out, like, our conversation about hemorrhoid cream and how to insert it or apply it, right? So who are your top 5 buddy comedy duos?
2 honorable mentions.
Okay.
I'll start with that. Beavis and Butthead is one of the honorable
You've never
mentions.
watched it. You can't say Beavis and Butthead.
That's why they're an honorable mention. But I know, here's the thing. I know of them. I know I've seen clips. It was, and I was going to do a cartoon on purpose because I knew you'd be like, what the fuck? And it was either that or Ren and Stimpy.
Ren and Stimpy.
As a duo,
that's a
right?
good one.
But Beavis and Butthead, because I think they're around again.
Mm-hmm.
They were part of huge culture. They were essentially the Hateful No Music Hut too.
They
at a
were,
time where they played music
basically,
videos. So, yeah. And then Turner and Hooch. And the reason is because I love that movie, and I have to put them on honorable mention because I can't put them as an actual duo, buddy. But I mean, it's a fucking great movie. I love Tom Hanks. The dog doesn't talk, but there's that dynamic. It's a great dynamic. It is in the theory too, because people like Canine better, and they're dumb. But Turner and Hooch, dude, is my second honorable mention.
I dig it. I didn't come in with honorable mentions, but I got a couple off the top of my head. So my first one would be James Franco and Seth Rogen. They are no longer buddy comedy people. I guess Seth Rogen said he's never going to work with James Franco again because whatever. But for the shit that they put out, fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. You've got Pineapple Express. You've got a whole bunch of shit, right? The other one that I would want to do would be Mark Wahlberg and Ted. I think that those
almost did that one.
Those two fucking thunder buddies for life, dude. Like they're just hilarious. But it's only in the one movie, and it's basically the plot of the movie, so that's why they would be honorable mention. But because you go in order, what's your number 5?
Number 5 is Lethal Weapon, Murdoch and Riggs. The reason is you have that many damn films. You have that much fun together. You have to make the list. Are you the top? No, but they've done a great job.
Are we doing
They're
films?
buddies? Well, see, no, and that's what I was going to ask you. So I did it as not films, but I'm doing those two are a buddy duo, right?
Okay.
In all the films. And so that duo has been in multiple films together. They have that dynamic of like, good cop, bad cop, no pun intended because they're cops, but you get what I mean? Like I did more in the fantasy realm of like when I watch something like my list is a mixed bag.
Okay.
It's sort of like you with the Seth Rogen, James Franco thing.
Yeah.
Like I did some of like characters that have been in movies together a lot. And I'm like, fuck yes. And then there's some that I'm like, I just want to see these two in movies together.
Perfect. Keep going.
So that's my number 5.
There.
No, you're fine. So number 5 is Murdoch and Riggs. Like I said, if you can have that many movies together and do it well and do it over time. Because I mean, the first Lethal Weapon came out in 1987. And I remember watching Lethal Weapon 4 when it came out in 1998.
Yeah, I was going to say that was in the late 90s.
And so you got a huge gap.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I always thought that was a fun one. So I'll go with that.
Chris Farley and David Spade. You got Black Sheep. You got, oh shit. Why am I losing it? What's the other?
Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy. Those two were so fucking funny. They were so good. And I'm so sad that Chris Farley died. I think he was going to end up in a slump acting wise. I think he was on a bad movie streak, but I don't think it was anything he couldn't have got out of. And my God, those two just fucking killed it. So that's my number 5. What's your number 4?
Well, mine is the same.
Okay.
As yours is and the reason is there's a few in the sense I'm not going to go into the things that you said like they were great at that. They probably would have been higher if he lived longer.
Yeah, that's where I was at.
Because I think they were that duo that like could have been the next I don't know, like if John Candy Martin Short or Martin
Steve Martin.
Steve Martin, sorry.
Yeah.
Steve Martin and him, if they did more movies together, you could see that and be like, this is amazing.
Right.
I feel like they would have done that and it never happened. So that's why they're number 4. But yeah, that's what I got. What do you got for number 4?
Number 4 is Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. Those two are just fucking hilarious. Step Brothers by far is a great film. Great film. John C. Reilly, we've talked about this before, is such an underrated actor. He is so damn good. So yeah, Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly for sure have to be good buddy comedy.
That's my number 3.
Jesus.
I hate that this list is going through fast. I think there's a few reasons though, B-Word. Let's be honest. One, me and you are very similar in a lot of ways and different in a lot of ways, but the sense that, and I think you do the same thing when we watch these movies a lot. We put ourselves in these roles like I'm this and that's Jake and it fits, right? And a lot of people do that. They're like, I'm this guy and you're that guy and I could cast, but I mean, again, John C. Reilly is one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
When it comes to Brule's roles, when it comes to his serious roles, when it comes to his comedy roles, I think he is so underrated and he balances out Will Ferrell well.
Right.
And what I mean by that is John C. Reilly can be crazy. He can be on Adult Swim and be fucking nuts, but he can also keep up with the level of Will Ferrell, but then also tone Will Ferrell down because Out of the two, I don't love Will Ferrell as much.
Right.
I like him.
Same.
But I also think his range isn't as far as John C. Reilly's,
Yep.
so it's very one note. It's, okay, I'm always going to be this guy. I'm going to yell a few things. I'm going to get silent. I'm going to gawk at you with a mouth wide open, and that's my scene.
Yep.
So that's why they're my number 3. They couldn't make it higher because of that.
This one was tough because I wanted to make it one of the two, and so this one is going to be outside the box. It's a trifecta, okay? So a buddy trio. So if this doesn't count, shoot me. Ben Stiller, Owen Wilson, and Vince Vaughn. So you look at Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn from Dodgeball. You've got Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn from Wedding Crashers. You've got Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson from a million different movies, it seems. I just think that those three, they were all part of the frat pack. Was it called the frat? The frat pack. They were a collection of actors that were just so good. And so this one, like I said, is kind of a trifecta for me, just because of who they are, but absolutely love their work that they put out.
See, I thought of that, but then I was like looking at films and like, because I'm not a big, I like it. I've never really rewatched it though as Wedding Crashers, and I know you've quoted a lot.
One of my
We've
favorite
talked about
movies.
that aside. To me, it was like, okay, yeah, it was a good movie. I'm not as high on it as other people. Like, I'm not going to shit on it. I'm not going to be a hater and be like, oh, fuck that. But, you know, I looked at the list and went, okay, one time him and Ben Stiller, and then one time it's him and Owen Wilson, and then one time it's Vince Vaughn, and then it's John Favreau too, because I include him in that group because I fucking love the movie Swingers. So I couldn't pick them because of that. So if I went with my next one, it's a duo that has been around for a long time. And it's a duo that has been, there is a universe for them, a shared universe, sort of like the MCU, but in the comedy side. And it's Jay and Silent Bob.
Silent Bob. Yep.
And the reason is because anything you put them in, they're noticeable.
Yeah.
Anything you put them in, there's Jake the Hater, Jace Mewes, and then there's B-Word, Silent Bob.
Yep.
It's just, and I love Kevin Smith. I mean, there are things that he's done that I could not be a fan of. I think his writing's gotten lazier, but I also believe that he accepts a check now.
Yep, he does.
So to me, it's like, okay, like I can't fault him for that because business decisions, he's doing a good job.
Yep.
But also, it's never going to be the same as Clerks originally.
Yeah.
It's never going to be the same as Mallrats and, stuff like that. So, and everything he comes out with now just feels forced and very commercialized.
Yeah. Yes. I agree.
Like the way he was promoting Clerks 3, I didn't even know it really came out.
No,
and it's just been a mess.
Yeah.
It felt like a mess. You know what it felt like? It felt commercialized in the sense of he was commercializing indie films. Like he was like, hey, let's release it like it's a commercial film and sell tickets like it's an indie film, but it's not.
Right.
But we'll promote it that way so people will think I went back to my roots, but I didn't.
Well, and it's the same thing with Jay and Silent Bob. Was it Jay and Silent Bob Strike Again? Is that what it's called?
The reboot, or I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's same thing. I agree with you as far as the duos go. They're fantastic. I will say that, yeah, you're right. It has become very commercialized. And I think it's lost its. I'm not going to say that it's lost its value because it hasn't, but I think it's lost its flair. Like it's just not as exciting as what it used to be.
What's your number 2, B-Word?
So I had a really hard time with number 1 and number 2. I'm going to be flat honest with you. So these two very well could be interchangeable for me. Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder are just fucking hilarious. Those two have been in several movies together. They've been on stage together. They're incredible on their own, but together they're a dynamic duo. And so for that, I'm going to put them in my number 2.
I like that. I like that. Number 1, I'm going to go with the duo that started it all for me. And at the time I was too young to understand it. And at the time I was too young to realize that they were in things together way before.
I think you're going to take my number 1.
Jack Lemmon and
Walter Matthau. That's my number 1.
Grumpy
old men.
I love Grumpy Old Men, the movie. I love Grumpy Old Men.
Such a good sequel to a great film. Yeah.
But it's one of those ones, like when I watched as a kid, I didn't really understand. I was like, okay, just two old dudes. Well, and then I liked the comedy. And then I watched it when I was older and I really loved the comedy. Yeah. And then when you go back,
The Odd
those
Couple,
moments like
you've got great films with these two. So good.
I've talked about this on the show where it was like, you remember those moments where you're like, how do my parents know every actor in every movie? Mm-hmm. And then you hit that age and you're like, oh, I remember. Now I'm going to go see when I fell in love with Dane Cook, right? So I went and watched every damn movie he was in. those moments happen. Well, this happened with them where I was like, holy shit, they've been around forever and they've done movies together forever and they've done this together. And
Right.
it really showed me that people have been doing the buddy duo forever.
Right. Right.
And not saying there's not a lot of people on this list. Like The Rock and Kevin Hart, I think, kill it together.
Yeah.
But I like their interviews more than the movie.
Right. Right. And I almost put Tenacious D on it as well. But again, it was just a matter of content to me. I think that there's some buddy duos that are out there, comedy duos and whatever. And I really hope that there's more that come out with newer media and newer actors and all that sort of stuff. But it's really good for me, man. But what do you say we take a break and come right back?
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's Josh with the Appleboys Podcast. My friends Corey, Rob, and Jimmy used to meet up with me after we all got off work on Saturday nights at our local Applebee's to hang out, drink Miller Lite pitchers, and swap stories. We talk about our days at work, stories about our families or our childhoods, funny things we saw on the internet, sports, current events, and whatever else came up. Sometimes serious, often irreverent, definitely not safe for work, and almost always hilarious. We decided to start recording our conversations and sharing them with the world. Since Saturdays are for the boys, and we hung out at Applebee's, the name Appleboys Podcast made a lot of sense. Come hang out with us at the virtual bar and join our community. Visit us at www.appleboys.us or search for the Appleboys Podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Happy tonight.
Welcome back. Thank you again for supporting us and listening to those ads there. We really appreciate it. Jake, let's continue this rundown, man. We're talking all things buddy comedy. We're talking all things buddy friendship type stuff. Let's rank some buddy comedy films. So there's a lot of them.
You start this time.
That's fine. There's a lot of them out there. Let's start with some honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is Tommy Boy. I love Tommy Boy. We just got done talking about Chris Farley and his trajectory. I love the movie Tommy Boy, but I think that there are 6 better films than that for buddy comedy duos. Tommy Boy's a great fucking film, dude. It's hilarious. It's heart-filled. It brings in the familial aspect of it. It's got some great shit in there. And so for that, my first honorable mention is Tommy Boy. What about you?
My first one would be 21 Jump Street.
Oh, okay. So you're going with what's his name? The Magic Mike guy.
Channing Tatum.
Yeah. Okay.
The reason is, here's the thing. I thought I didn't want to watch the movie. My wife picked it for movie night and made me watch the movie. I fucking laughed at the movie.
It's great.
I love the movie.
Yeah.
But I've watched it 2 times in all of its history.
Did you like the sequel?
I didn't mind the sequel, but here's the thing. I've never really needed to go back to either one of them.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, I think they did a great job. I think their dynamic was stellar. I thought it was a fun movie. It's better than some other ones on the list.
Yeah.
But it's an honorable mention for me because they're, for me on the honorable mentions, it's people I think that just did so well together that I'd like to see in other projects.
Right.
But they haven't done it yet, or they've been in other projects together in different ways, and it makes sense.
Right. Yeah, the second one was great when they pulled in Ice Cube. I love that. Yeah, no, not a bad recommendation there at all. The second one here, Step Brothers. I guess the reason why this is an honorable mention, and this is a technicality, so I mean, take it for what it is. It's Planes, Trains, and Step Brothers. Step Brothers is more or less about family, right? Like you're getting married in. It didn't feel like it was friends. It felt like 2 brothers that were trying to mesh in. So it had that family aspect. So for that, Step Brothers is my honorable mention.
My next one is Keanu.
I've never seen that.
Here's the thing. It's funny, but here's the reason it makes the list. Is Key and Peele are amazing together.
They're fantastic. Yeah.
They're a fantastic duo. The show is great. They're guys that can play off each other. I would love to see more stuff that they do, not just the show, if that makes sense. Yeah. I would love to see a serious film. I would like to see a lot of different things with them. And so it makes that list because it was something that I wasn't on the huge Key and Peele train when they were out, because to me it was a recycled Chappelle show, and I'm one of those haters on that. Yeah. I appreciate for what it is. I watch it. Do I watch it religiously in every episode? Fuck no. I didn't want to watch the movie. Also, I'm not a cat person. I think cats are like Gatorade. You know the color you like, not the breed. So I was like, okay, my friend was like, Jake, you need to watch this film. And I'm like, all right, whatever, and I actually enjoyed it. And they work so well together. Keep it up. Like, you know what I mean? Keep it up. Like, so that's why it's an honorable mention. Is it going to make the top 5? Fuck no. Fuck no.
Well, I kind of let my number 5 slip. My number 5 is Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. This one for me, you've got Steve Martin, you've got John Candy. John Candy by far is one of my favorite comedic actors. Again, like Chris Farley, like Jim Belushi, super sad that these guys died well before their prime. I just really enjoyed the content that he put out. But the duo in this one, dude, we joke that this is us basically, where you know, you're the Steve Martin character and I'm the John Candy character, and we're going through this shit. I think personality wise, that might even be flipped in certain cases, but the body type is always the same, right? Like I'm the bigger guy, you're the skinny guy.
I was going to ask that question. Like, do you feel like, because you said he's one of your favorite people, do you feel like you relate more to guys that are like you? Because I will say this, I know that you've mentioned like Gabriel Iglesias and bigger dudes a lot. And it's not just because it's the relatability, but is that a reason behind it?
I think it's no, not necessarily. I think it's somebody who has an availability for insecurity that cashes it in with and turns it into confidence, if that makes sense. So, I mean, it could be a person with one leg that's coming out there and telling one leg jokes, right? It's somebody who is basically taking the stigma of what they are perceived at in society, and they're using that to cash a big check. And that's what I appreciate. So like with Gabriel Iglesias was fluffy. You know, you've got the 5 stages of fat. You've got thick, healthy, husky, fluffy, and damn. Or you've got, you know, John Candy, and he's always been that bigger guy. You've got Laurel and Hardy. They've always had the skinny guy and the bigger guy. You know, it's something where you take that insecurity that it could very well be there. You know, you talk about Chris Farley or Jim Belushi. That I know for Chris Farley, he was very weight conscious, and that played with his mental stuff. But from a comedic standpoint, he was fucking banging, dude. He was amazing. There's a lot of talk about him with the Chippendale skit with him and Patrick Swayze that actually ate at him quite a bit. And I don't know if that's true or not. Obviously the man's, you know, gone, so we can't really talk with him about that. But no, I wouldn't say that that's where I relate the most to him, is because they're bigger guys. I just love the story where you're taking an insecurity and you're turning it into a confidence measure, if that makes sense.
Well, that's cool. That's a good way to look at it. I mean, because I do think we make the perfect 10, not just because you're round and I'm tall and skinny, as we talked about, but I mean, I think that's a good dynamic to have. I mean, I think there are buddy comedies on this, or duos that we've talked about, where it's like they're the same type of person, but I think contrast is better at times.
Oh, so much so.
My number 5 is, speaking of contrast, is Rush Hour.
Okay, yeah.
There's been multiple films. I'm going to go with the first one. I love the first one the most, but such a great dynamic to play on all the roles too. Mm-hmm. It's almost like a new age Blazing Saddles, in the sense of like, you got black and Asian.
You got the race roles and everything else.
I mean, Jeremy Piven's also the super gay dude.
Yeah.
Where he's like buttercream. Like, you know, but I mean, it's just a fun watching them like play off each other. Because Jackie Chan's hilarious, to be honest.
So funny.
And a great stunt actor. But like, to see the range, and now they're making a new one, which is exciting to hear.
Yeah.
I don't know how it'll turn out, because Chris Tucker's one of those guys, like, I don't trust him like in movies, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like I wish he would have been in the sequel of Friday.
Well, he's the Wish.com Chris Rock.
Yeah, but it's also the fact, like, he was supposed to be in next Friday. I mean, he's even there's mention of it, and then like in the clip, I don't know if you ever noticed that in the opening credits, and then he's not there.
Yep.
And you're like, fuck. And so I don't know. It's just. But that's a fun movie. It's a fun duo. They did multiples of it. I think the dynamic was great. So that would be my number 5.
So we've already mentioned this one. Wedding Crashers is going to be my number 4. Again, you're talking about a duo that have significant differences. You've got Vince Vaughn's character, who is this person who's just wanting to sleep with all these women. And then you've got Owen Wilson's character that's having this midlife crisis that he's trying to kind of deal with. And then, of course, you have the tall guy and you have the short guy and you have all this sort of stuff that's mixing into it. But the comedy is just fantastic. And so Wedding Crashers, to me, has a special place with me because right after I got divorced, and I'll just kind of open up here. I think I probably said this on the podcast before. Dude, I didn't have any friends because my ex-wife didn't really want me to have friends in my life. I was pretty removed from my family for the same reasoning. And so this one was one that I went to with my dad after I got divorced. And I felt like I laughed more in this movie than I have in any movie before or since, just because I felt like I found the comedy that I was looking for. I felt like I found that stuff that I was struggling with and just went. So Wedding Crashers is a high movie for me. So that's my next one. What about you?
Mine is Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
Okay.
Originally,
Like
we talked about that we were thinking about putting both of us on our list, but I considered them first as a band, second as movie stars, actors. I don't know if you know this. Did you know they're in Biodome?
No, I did not.
That movie, they're the band. They're playing Tenacious D, both of them. They're playing on the lawn.
I'm going to have to rewatch that.
And it's both of them while they're all doing back rubs and trying to save the rainforest.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah, they're the band playing, like Jack Black's yelling and Cage is right behind him. So cool little moment there. But it was everything I wanted in the sense of I knew what I was getting.
Yeah.
I was happy I got it. The soundtrack's fun. Did I expect it to be the greatest film ever? No. Do I love the shroom scene where, he sees Bigfoot? Do I love it that one of them chooses boobs over everything, that lasers hit their belt, they fight the fucking devil? I mean, yeah, it's a fun fucking movie. And it's what I waited for.
Right.
I waited for that movie and it finally happened, and it paid off the song Tribute, which is all we really wanted. We just wanted them to pay off that song.
Right.
And it was just fun. It can't be higher though, because there were moments of it that I wished for a little bit more.
Sure.
But it was one of those things. I don't know what I was wishing for.
Right. That makes sense. No, and a great pick, dude. Like Tenacious D is fantastic, whether it be music or whether it be their performances. So I'm with you there. Next one, we've talked about this on the show quite a bit. Superbad, one of the best buddy comedy. Like this one relates to me and you, obviously, our high school days and some of the shit that we've gone through. This one overall is one of the best buddy comedy films, I think, of modern day. Even still, I think it came out, close to 20 years ago, probably 15 years ago now. And it still holds its weight. Like, it's just a great film. I really wish that, that Michael Cera wasn't such a penis. You know what I mean? Like he's so self-centered as a person that, like, you see interviews with him and stuff, and he's just a fucking asshole, And it's like, I just really wish you weren't that. And I wish you kind of continued down this path with Jonah Hill and you try to do something with that. But yeah, I mean, Superbad's fucking awesome. So that's my number 3.
Not to be the same as you, but number 3 is Superbad. All the same reasons. It's one of those ones, like, I had a hard time with this because I actually bounced this between number 1 and number 3. I skipped number 2. But the reason is because I've watched this movie a fucking lot. Mm-hmm. I quote this movie a lot. But I will say this, over the years, compared to my number 1 when we get there, I don't have the same feeling every time I watch Superbad. Right. If that makes sense. Right. Like, now I'm at the point, like a open situation sort of similar was, I was watching The Simpsons the other day, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember as a kid I related to Bart. Okay. And now I watch and I relate to Homer.
Yep, exactly.
And I'm like, holy fuck, like, I have a Ned Flanders in my life and I fucking hate that guy. Holy fuck, like, I make jokes all, like, you know what I mean? And so, like, with Superbad, it's like, now I'm getting to the point, and you can attest to this because your daughter's already moved out and older, and my daughter's getting in those teenage years of partying and doing that stuff where it's like, I'm now the worried parent of those kids. Yep. Instead of, oh man, I remember when it was just fucking hilarious. I can make fun of my friend for getting period blood on his pants and fucking around, like putting beer in like a Tide, container.
Right.
So it had to move down, but I love the fucking movie.
I debated at putting that as number 1 as well. I debated at putting number 2. It had to sit there at number 3 because I think that there are 2 buddy comedy movies that are better. Okay. My number 2, you mentioned Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, is Grumpy Old Men. Grumpy Old Men by far is one of my favorite buddy comedy films, just because you're introduced to these 2 characters that have arguably 70 years of history. I mean, they grew up together. You know what I mean? And they are just still fighting about life, and it's so funny because as the story goes through, they fought over women, they've cried over women, but at the end of the day, they have their back. And I love Grumpy Old Men for that reason. And again, Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau are such a great duo. So Grumpy Old Men's my number 2.
That's freaking awesome. See, and I feel bad because I'm going to be upfront. That didn't make my list at all, even though they were my number 1 duo together. And the reason is because I watched that movie. I love that movie, but there are other movies here that I could watch forever and just fall in love with, because there's a ton out there. Right. Like Gone Fishing is one of my favorite duos, right? But it's not on my list. Right. I mean, that's my theory too. That's just like the southern version of Grumpy Old Men, if you could.
Right. Yeah.
but Dumb and Dumber.
Okay.
One of the most classic films that we have for our generation, in the sense, like everything else that came after it fucking sucks.
Yep.
But the quotes, the funniness, the slapstickness, just seeing Jim Carrey be as much Jim Carrey as you can give is awesome. Just Harry and Lloyd, dude. It's one of those, and I've argued with my neighbor because I'll never forget when he moved in, we were talking and he came over and we were, cooking dinner and stuff. And he goes, because he listens to the show, and Dan the man, he was like, oh, do you guys ever talk about like, your top movies of all time? And I was like, yeah, we are eventually one day probably going to do the top 50 or 100 movies. And he goes, I was like, what's yours? And he goes, Dumb and Dumber. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? He goes, I don't have, no. Here's the thing. He goes, I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't know what taste, but everything he brought up reminded me of this list where it was like, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Like, am I going to put it over Step Brothers? Yeah. Am I going to put it over Tenacious D? Yeah. Am I going to put it over Gone Fishing? Yeah. Grumpy Old Man. I have to put it over all that because you say it and everybody knows it. Yep. It's one of those films. It's one of those films that everybody's watching, everybody likes. Like Wedding Crashers, you can say that B-word. And as I said, I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's good. I don't think it's great. There are people out there that fucking love that movie. Like,
right.
There are people that think White Chicks is one of the greatest films ever.
I fucking hate White Chicks.
Fuck those people. But Dumb and Dumber, dude, number 2.
You took my number 1. My number 1 is Dumb and Dumber. And they almost made my buddy comedy duo, Jeff Daniels and Jim Carrey, only because they have Dumb and Dumber and then they have Dumb and Dumber, I think is what it's called. But they, anytime they get together, they are the goofiest two fucking people. Did you see where Jeff Daniels was being interviewed by Conan and Jim Carrey comes out, surprises Jeff Daniels, and they just go batshit crazy with each other? Like, I just think that they have some of the best chemistry just in film. Regardless of the genre, I think that they have some great chemistry in film. With Dumb and Dumber, the plot, this is where we talk about, would you remake a film that was potentially a bad film because they didn't have a good actor or director or whatever? You can look at this script. You have two people doing dumb shit that are going across country to do dumb shit with characters that are dumb, right? This could have flopped 5 ways from Friday, and it didn't. And they killed it. They nailed it. I can't say enough about Dumb and Dumber. That's my number 1. But I am curious to hear about what your number 1 is.
Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Okay.
I watch this movie every year.
Yep. Thanksgiving.
And you know me with my list, it's usually has to be watchability.
Yep. And
it's something that never gets old for me. I love every scene. I remember the first time I watched this, I was like 3 or 4 and I did not get it. But I always remembered the scene where they were driving between the semi trucks and the car peeling, and it just always freaked me out if that ever happened.
Yeah.
But the dynamic, it is me and you to a T. The scenes are... It's got everything in a buddy comedy I want.
Everything.
It's got funny moments. It's got the heartbreak. It's got the hate towards each other. It's got the arguments. It's got the over the topness. It's also about my favorite holiday, Thanksgiving, which I think is underrated and is dying. And the fact that I don't know, it's my favorite holiday movie to go back to. It's got everything. And it's just a great film overall. Everything about it is enjoyable for me. And since I watch it every year, and it is one that if it's on AMC, because it's usually the channel they play it on, I'll probably watch a scene or two. And I could jump in at any moment and be like, yep, all right, I watched the scene where they're getting drunk in the hotel room. Yep. I'm good for the night. Or I'm watching them, at him argue with the lady about the car and stuff. So it's one of those, a forever movie for me.
I will tell you, there are a lot of people who swear by the movie Due Date with Zach Galifianakis and Robert Downey Jr. It's the exact same plot as Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I mean, certain things are changed. Like I think the guy's going to go see his wife who's having a baby or whatever. But it's basically the same premise, and it really bothers me because number one, I don't really like when things are ripped off like that. Like we're talking about with Avatar. Being a ripoff from Dances with Wolves. But I love Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for its authenticity. And man, you have a good list. I have a good list. I can't argue with either one of them. So let me ask you this. If you're to cast you and I in a movie or movies, which ones would they be and why?
I'll do this. This is going to be fun. I'm going to do this over decades.
Okay.
And by that, what I mean is we've known each other for over 30 years, right?
Yeah.
So if I could also go through our ages of what we did. So number 1 would be Superbad.
Okay.
That was us in high school.
Can I shout out your number 2? Because I think we have the same list.
Okay.
And we haven't talked about this at all.
No. But I was a penis, like Michael Cera. You were my big friend trying to get me laid and get to look at Warlocks and to get out of my shell. We had a McLovin.
Yep.
We had a few McLovins. Poochie, fuck you. But you know, I don't know. Superbad was the one where that was us. And I mean, and it's not also because, you know, you're a big guy and I'm, you know, the skinny guy and stuff, but I mean, it also fits. Everything fits about that for us.
Yeah.
We laid next to each other and I would have booped you on the nose and said, I love you so much. Thanks for playing video games and eating pizza with me tonight. And one of the greatest evenings. And you going, I just tried to help you get laid.
Yeah.
But hey, this was a blast. And it was a failure, but we got home.
Exactly. No. So is your number 2 planes, trains, and automobiles?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So then I know exactly where you're going with this because our third one is going to be identical. So planes, trains, and automobiles is going to be our middle-aged life.
You explain that one.
So planes, trains, and automobiles. This is us living life that if we didn't know each other in our youth, we would be Steve Martin and John Candy, respectfully, and we would have this epic travel hysteria situation that happens across several states. You're trying to get home to your beautiful wife. I'm just sitting there like, can I sell you some fucking earrings, bitch? And we're just trying to figure it all out. And at the end of the day, we become best friends. And I get introduced to your wife and your kids. And next thing you know, I'm Uncle Buck. So yeah, 100%. I think that's our middle life. So that being the case, if we were older,
we're grumpy old men.
That's what I thought. So are you Walter Matthau or are you Jack Lemmon?
You know who I am. I'm Walter Matthau.
Yeah, that's exactly who I thought you were going to be.
I'm an angry. I don't like my son. I don't like anybody involved in my life. All I do is I'm jealous of you. I just look out my window and complain at you. I complain at Dennis the Menace for living down the road from me.
Shit.
I don't like anybody. I don't like anything. I'm just tall, hairy, big nose, angry. I could still see my dick, but life, it just sucks. It just sucks. And you're my neighbor and you're over there halfway positive, but just like, well, but then you get mad every now and then. But the way you get mad at me is not like the way I get mad at you.
Right.
Like you are civilized. You are a very civilized human being, B-word. And I'm over there just being a fucking total jack.
I'd be just sitting there trying to watch fucking TV and you'd be changing my fucking channel on me.
Yeah.
And
it'd be hilarious. I would do it on Cowboys games. Yeah. I would just sit there the whole fucking day.
Or this beautiful woman that I just met that I'm sleeping with that potentially we're getting married. She's going to be doing this mold out of me and you're going to sit there and videotape me and put me in a Best Buy or something. Like, yeah, dude, exactly. I'm straight up. We didn't talk about this at all, but those are my exact 3 that I would pick for our life. And yeah, good picks, dude. Good pick.
This is why we're best friends. I mean, because essentially, if you look at it like, I mean, because I will say this and commend to all the listeners. Thank you for always making it through the whole episodes. Thanks for the ads because, you know, we do need to get paid. Spreaker Prime, baby. But no, it's the fact that we think the same.
Yeah.
We have a dynamic. But it was funny because I went through this going, I'm going to do 3 and I'm going to do it based on our life and how we've grown and lifestyle. And it's funny, you came with the same thing because as soon as I named the first one, you're like, oh, I'm already on this too. And I'm like, fuck.
Yep, that's it.
In an alternate universe, B-word. In an alternate universe, because I did this as a throw out because I knew I had to do this to you. And I didn't do cartoons because I knew you wouldn't fuck one. But you, your whole life, have called me a fucking Muppet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because the way I smile, there might be a hand on my ass. Nobody fucking knows. There ain't no strings on me. But we are Statler and Waldorf in an alternate universe.
Yes. Or we're the Swedish Chef and Beaker.
We could be. But here's the thing. All I want to do, B-word, is get old with you and sit in a balcony at like a huge concert and just yell at people. And here's the thing. You would let me. You would join in, but you would just let me be the hater. And you would be right by my side just, and that's all I want in life. I just want to be a Muppet with you.
I'm 100% with it. And I'll tell you what, if one of us does have a hemorrhoid in our old age, like I'm not putting the tube in your ass.
I'll put it in. I won't suck. I won't suck the tube out of your nose, but I will put the tube in your butt for you.
And with that, that's the end of our Bleach Bros thing. Jake, what do you got for us?
Thanks for all the dirty talk. Come back and get sanitized. This is Jake from the Bleach Bros Podcast, and thank you for listening to today's episode. I want to bring to your attention our Linktree. Visit Linktree/Bleach Bros Podcast for access to all of our socials, merch, and streaming sites. Linktree is linktr.ee/Bleach Bros Podcast, all one word. And if you enjoy our content, make sure to give us a like, give us a review on whatever platform you are listening on, and also invite your friends. If you're a fan of our show, be sure to check out this one to stay sanitized.
Haha, what's poppin', y'all? It's your boy Date Money, and every Monday, join us on every streaming service on the Bromigos podcast.
Come talk shit with your boy Panama Red.
And you better not forget me, head advocate of the Big Titty Committee and undercover brother, Motorboatin' Matt.
And me, Hoochie Daddy Sleppy. I guess my new name is Hoochie Man Hunter.
Yeah! I was hoping you were going to say that.
We talk all things sports, sex, and more. Coming to you raw and uncensored. Ain't nothing off limits.